Get ready for the most awkward and potentially worst podcast you ever heard. This is Mental Medicine, a podcast made by a few high schoolers in a high school club. But stay tuned if you're interested still. This is the podcast where hopefully you can improve yours and others' mental health while learning about it at the same time. Um, as for who I am, because I've completely forgot the intro, I am Winston. I am a 17-year-old junior in high school, leading a Tenafly High School Interact Club, which is a service club. And I'm creating this podcast in order to help people out. I know that a lot of teens my age are struggling with this current issue at this point, and I know that I, as I'm making this podcast, I am suffering the effects of social anxiety. I'm not sure if I'll have the nerve to even release this, but as for who I am still, I am at this point a very awkward kid. I have a few friends here and there, not a lot. People think I'm scary because in the halls I always look angry. I have a resting angry face, I think, and that sort of makes people avoid me sometimes. And that resting face is sort of due to me not wanting to hang out with people because I'm afraid that the second I open my mouth, um, I'll say something stupid, I'll act stupid, whatever in that case. And I can't always speak to people the same way I speak to my parents, for example, or the same way I speak to very, very extremely close friend of mine who doesn't mind my quirkiness, who doesn't mind my lisp, doesn't mind the way I speak. And those are really the only types of people I talk to most of the time. And even then, during those times, um, it is very hard to keep on a topic for a very long time. And I don't know if that is part of social anxiety. I just know that I'm not very up to date with the relevant subjects, current events, stuff like that. The only thing I am up to date with is really some physics articles, some business articles, and some, I don't know, stupid news about some guy who decided to, I don't know, eat an alligator. I don't know. So those are really the only topics I usually focus on talking about, and I have a feeling that people don't really want to listen to that type of stuff. So it definitely is a problem in enforcing myself, or actually building myself up to more um, social interactions, because I'm so bad at speaking about things for a long time. As for what is social anxiety in the first place, from what you could probably tell, it is the fear that you are being judged. The actions you do are being judged. The things you say are being judged. And at this moment, like I said before, I'm suffering from these effects because I'm afraid that when I release this, I will be judged, which is, of course, what's going to happen on Spotify. Um, but on the plus side, hopefully I'm helping other people out. Hopefully some people are connecting to me right now. And hopefully some of you are laughing at how this is turning out. Um, Otherwise, it is also the fear that your work and the daily activities you do um, are also being judged, being watched, being constantly criticized. Um, but this fear of mine is so irrational because I don't think anyone cares what you kind of do in your life, unless you sort of kill a person. It doesn't. No one's going to be watching you. But I just have this intense fear that someone is going to be um, judging me for what I say, for what I do. Um, and this traces back all the way to, um, or actually, yeah, it traces back to preschool when there was this sort of downtime during preschool where they just put on the radio and everyone was dancing, and I decided to join in, and because why not? So that was the first time I felt like I was being bullied. I was probably just being teased, and I was probably just overplaying it in my head, but I know that in that moment, I felt like everyone was laughing at me, even though it was only about a group of 5 kids out of 20, and a teacher as well. But still, those 5 kids and that teacher made me feel like I would, for the rest of my life, that I would be judged or laughed at, and that is the root of my social anxiety, I think. Um, and the other thing that kind of, I think, made my social anxiety worse was during church. Now, it wasn't the exact action that was directed towards me, it was what happened afterwards. So, to explain the story, what basically happened was during church, um, there was this children's choir. You know, the adults don't want kids upstairs in the actual big adults room, and plus it was all Mandarin. Um, by the way, I am Chinese. I'm a Chinese kid, and this will probably anger a lot of Chinese parents out there who feel like the traditional ones at least are going to feel like they don't know how to deal with this mental health issue thing. Because in my culture, at least, there aren't a lot of traditional Chinese people who care about the mental health, and it is a serious thing um, that sometimes isn't acknowledged too much. Acknowledged enough, actually. Sorry, but it is seriously an issue, I think, for the Chinese community, traditional Chinese community or Asian community with mental health. Otherwise, I think that back to the story, uh, what happened was this guy who was unfortunately bullied while he was in school had this very bad thing happening where he was bullied constantly in that school, made fun of, pranked, uh, the whole list. So what ended up happening was I was tired. My legs were tired, and I was feeling, oh, I really need to sit down. I can't stand for too long. I'm only 9 years old. So I decided to pull this chair. It's a very tiny chair in the first place, and he was a very tall guy. So he didn't know until the last moment that I pulled the chair from under him. But in the moment he was about to sit down, I pulled the chair. He was holding his coffee, and unfortunately, it spilled on him, and it made him extremely angry. And he got up and picked me up by the collar and dragged me down the hall. And though that was traumatizing enough, it wasn't really what caused my social anxiety to get worse. It was the fact that afterwards, the kids inside the room were all watching. That was what really made me cry during that sort of incident. It was the fact that about 50 kids in that room were all staring down the hall, and I was looking back at them. There were different reactions in the room. There was fear, there was shock, there was even some laughter because I think they were laughing at what happened before when I pulled the chair. But that incident, those reactions from those people, caused my social anxiety to get worse. In the fact that I worry that if I have any reaction in school or have any sort of emotion in school, it will sort of have that same effect where all these people are staring at me and all this attention is directed on me when I don't want it to be. And this really caused me in school to seem angry. Like I said before, this causes me people to avoid me sometimes even. Um, and even with people who are my friends, they will probably say that I always look like I'm gloomy, I'm depressed or something, but I'm not. I just have this resting face from this social anxiety, which causes me to not express emotion, not express emotion in my voice even. And hopefully this podcast turns out well with my voice. But for now, I'm hoping that this has at least helped some people um, connect better. Next thing is with um, how it affects my life. Now, I have already mentioned that it causes me to not express emotion and everything, but it also affects my leadership skills during my interact club thing. Um, and Interact Club, it is a service club run by Rotary. It is a great club. If you have like, if you or your child have like have a Rotary club or Interact Club in your town, you should probably check it out. It's a very great club. But back to the topic. Um, my club focuses on doing community service and everything, and I always want to think of these big ideas. Um, and I am a creative person. I loved sketching when I was young. I loved singing, loved dancing, but only in the comfort of my own home. Occasionally at parties, but I had to get over a huge hurdle for me to be able to have a fun time at parties, because um, there are many people watching in that moment, and um, it kind of brings back memories of what I said earlier, which is that the kids in my summer school for preschool um, are going to laugh at me. And in this case, the people in that party are going to laugh at me, which is what's much worse, I think. And um, with the club, at least, uh, with my creative mindset and everything, I always think of big ideas. I always want to strive for the best. And sometimes I'm able to do these events, but most of the time, when I am able to plan them, I usually end up not going through with it. And in those moments that I don't go through with it, what ends up happening is I get this huge feeling of anxiety, stress, and you know, those feelings cause me to not think straight during my classes, causes me to not sleep at night sometimes, and that just damages my life even further. So, with leadership at least, um, if I'm not able to finish a project, which currently, at the time of recording this, I still have a Christmas project to do for my club, which hasn't been completed. And last night, which would be the 6th of January, um, it was an overwhelming amount of pressure put on myself. And last night, I could not sleep at all. And I kind of dealt with this in the morning instead. It took me that long to be able to stop myself from feeling that pressure of leadership, that anxiety, that crushing feeling that I'm not able to do anything, that I'm incompetent, that I'm not worth being, I don't deserve being leader of this club. And that sort of, those thoughts were only overcome by the fact that there is at least one thing good going on. And I always try to look on the good side of things, because that helps me deal with this a lot better. Helps me deal with my anxiety a lot better. For example, last night I was thinking about trying to why don't people respond back to me when I ask them to contact me on the status of things? Why don't people do the actions I want them to do in my club? Why is my time management so bad, and who am I as a leader? What is my personality? How can I treat these people to respect me better when I've already respected them so much? And I guess what helped me deal with those thoughts was the fact that at least I have a few very good friends in my club who are willing to do these things, who are willing to put in their heart and soul just as I have for my club. And those thoughts of my best friends really helped me with my anxiety there. And other times with anxiety, I like journaling. If there's no other outlet for me to do this type of to vent out my sort of mental illness or anxiety, I will journal. It helps me a lot. It puts my thoughts on pages, and I'm able to just, in a way, push them out of my mind. And that really helps me with my social anxiety a lot. The other thing is just talking with family, because I feel like in order to help yourself, you need to be able to reach out for help. And talking with my my family and the ones I love the most have really helped me out, especially with social anxiety. It will also help with depression, and it will help with those all the other ones, uh, in on the list. Um, in fact, I know that a majority of my best friends um, have social anxiety. You could check out It's Interview Time. It's Always Interview Time by Thorsten Meister. He is a great friend of mine, but I have a feeling that he has some anxiety issues as well. But I think he has dealt with that pretty well. Um, Remember to check out that YouTube channel over there. Um, and the way he deals with it is because not only has he struggled with his mother being disabled, but he has to be independent from that point on. And I heard that from his father that, or him himself, that he went to this middle school that wasn't really nice to him. It wasn't the right environment, and he couldn't reach out to these people. And going to a different sort of academy with different groups of people who share his interest, who are willing to reach out to him, really helped him out with this, I think. And seeking the right company, if you can, with social anxiety, is always hard. But if you want to find, if you want to help people with social anxiety, or just help anyone in general, maybe just be, kind to them. Be kind to everyone, in fact. That is the best way to brighten up everyone's day. That is the best way to find new friends. That is the best way to sort of improve yourself as well. So that is advice for people who don't suffer from this mental problem or issue. With this advice, you could also help yourself, I think, by being kind to everyone. You really help attract a positive feeling in yourself. You make more friends in the process as well, and by making more friends, you are keeping your skill of talking to people active. And by keeping that skill active, you are able to prevent social anxiety further. You're able to develop more confidence because you have so many people to back you up. And that is my final piece of advice for people who want to help other people with social anxiety or help themselves. But before you click away, I just want to share one last story. And I just recalled this actually. The story is of how I was once in kindergarten, and me being in kindergarten at the time. It was a time where you're young, you don't know what you're saying, but I did know um, of some things about the human body, let's just say. And this lunch lady, because of course she was taller than me, um, and I do not endorse body shaming at all. I think that is very horrible and stuff. I myself have body dysmorphia in a way that I am self-conscious about my lips because I think they're huge and people make fun of them, even though no one notices. But back to the story. Um, I, unfortunately, being a kindergartner, um, I said that I asked if she was pregnant, I think. And it was a really bad thing for me to say, especially as a kindergartner. Um, and I really feel embarrassed talking about it now. But I'm really trying to connect with everyone listening right now. And the lunch lady reasonably, um, she shouted out. She said, "What? What did you say?" And me being the kid I was a bit more timid still, but I at the time didn't have a filter on, so I thought it was a very reasonable question to ask. But clearly it wasn't, so I said nothing. It was nothing. So I just turned my head and just kept eating, looking down and everything. And luckily I avoided any punishment that day, except for, of course, um, some, some teaching on what's right, what's not right. But that's the best. But that's the time you have to um, learn. Learn what's right and human as being a person in the world. So that's the last story I want to share about myself. Um, if you're tired of my voice, tired of my very very bad humor, and uh, uninterested in what I have to say next, just bear with me for one last moment as I explain how this podcast is going to work in the future. So we will have a new speaker every Sunday um, with a new podcast, and they will explain their stories for this month. For the remaining months, keep an eye out for interviews and actual podcasts with professionals. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening to this podcast, and have a great day.